Hey everyone, welcome back to What the FinTech. We are back in the studio after some amazing episode with AWS and Money 2020. It was a great opportunity to interview companies like Xtrust, OSL, and BitCup. I'm excited to let you know that in a couple of weeks, I will release another episode from the Bangkok World Tour of Money 2020 with an amazing company. This episode have generated a lot of tractions and interest recently, and I received a couple of very fruitful and great feedbacks from all of you. So thank you very much for this one. It's hard to believe that I started this long interview already 1 year ago, and we have been already to 40 episodes. So thank you very much for the support and sharing those interviews. And I hope that today our interview will be great because it's one of the powerhouses of the digital asset industry. I've been following her for a long time, and I know she's an inspiration for a lot of young ladies. Hello, Annabelle. How are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me here today.
I'm very happy to have you. As I just mentioned when you came here, for me it was an amazing experience to have you here. I'm very grateful because I follow you for a very long time now, and I've seen all the hard work you have done over the past like 3, 4 years with your company, Ember Group. Yeah, just a quick thing I would like to say. It's when I do these interviews, I'm always inspired by entrepreneurs like you. So thank you very much for coming here. And could you introduce yourself in a couple of words? Where are you from? What you have done, and who you are, and what you are doing right now at Amber Group?
Well, I try to keep it short. Originally born and raised from China, went to the US for college, and then afterwards worked in New York for a couple years at Deutsche Bank and in Nomura before having this opportunity to work alongside some of my Carnegie Mellon alumni in crypto. And then it really was a rabbit hole from there. Once I started getting to know the industry, the people, the technology, then I never looked back. So initially started on a DeFi platform,
Mhm.
one of the earliest DEXs back in the days, 2017, 2018 era. And that's when I moved back to Asia, here to Hong Kong, actually, to help us with the Asia side operations. And a year later, I found myself at this crossroad again with this DeFi and CeFi debate. And I was lucky enough to join the Amber team 4 years ago now. And then afterwards, I've done many different roles within the firm. I started off more on the trading side, actually pushing a lot of our options and structured products because that's what my background was before. And then it came a time when we wanted to launch our product suite. So I actually led the product team for a few months before now leading a lot of our business development um, efforts and actually on the PR and marketing side as well. So long way.
When people work in a digital asset company, fintech companies, they always have a kind of a small story before joining the company. Did you meet anyone from Amber Group before? Did you work with them on some of the project? How did you ending up in Amber Group?
It was, I would consider a great story actually with a bit of sad ending, but the first person I met here in Hong Kong for anything DeFi related, we were actually looking for market makers to provide liquidity on the DEX. And I've got numerous intros to Amber. So I met actually one of our late co-founder, TT, here. And he was immediately impressive. Have thought a lot about DeFi, even though that wasn't really a thing back then. So it was super impressive, um, and just immediately became friends with the team. And a year later, he convinced me to join the group, and he really um, I think the sentence or the word that he said to me was that, we don't really have a specific role for you, but we just want to continue having higher quality talent so that our average talent is always improving. And I think that was the thing that really touched me. So it was a pleasure working with him for all these years. It was a tragedy what happened last year with him, but yeah, I think he taught a lot of us so many things in this industry, and will continue to really look at him as an inspiration.
I know that for a lot of people it was inspiration. It was really sad news last year. I would like to just go a bit more on like your relationship with that company, Umber Group. For people who don't know what you are doing, what are you exactly doing with the company, and what is the mission of this company?
The mission really, initially, because our background was more institutional trading, liquidity side. So initially, we were more similar to a quant hedge fund setup, but quickly we saw the gap. To bridge traditional finance to crypto finance, and maybe DeFi was too early, so it was more of a centralized finance way, and doing what's needed, building what's needed towards mass adoption and playing our role in as a financial service provider there. So our mission really hasn't really changed. So we're committed to building that bridge, whatever is needed to bridge the user experience, to bridge on and off ramp for the end users to onboard to to crypto and to blockchain technology in general. And the two core business lines right now, one part of it is more focused within the crypto native community. So most of the time, these token projects or crypto VC funds or just the individuals trading crypto always have liquidity needs. So we have a dedicated liquidity solution, different product suite for them. And the other side is what we call the digital wealth management side, and that's really looking to bring traditional investors on board to crypto products, but in a way that they're familiar with. So we set up dedicated fund products with a lot of the same traditional regulated setups, but with crypto as underlying. So hopefully, with these two combined, we can really service the whole broad range of the potential and users out there.
Oh, very interesting. I can see how you shape the space here. But from everything I've seen from your post, also from my research I've done on Umber Group, it seems that the Umber Group is operating at the center of that digital asset space. So I would like to try to understand a bit more in details how you influence your strategy and how you influence your operations based on that digital industry and how you collaborate with the partner you just mentioned.
Yeah, so we want to offer a very customized service and solution to different type of clients out there. So I touch upon, on the token project side, a lot of them are very focused on building their project, their product. When it comes to token, they launch it because there's utility, but they're not most of them not from finance background. So navigating the tokenomics, the initial listing, the liquidity requirements can be quite daunting, and that's where we step in as a market maker. And I'd like to think a broader ecosystem partner to help them, to guide them around that, because we've built the expertise over the last 5 years or so. Then there's a lot of the VC funds who actually would need liquidity in managing their own portfolio. So whether it's accumulating more or sometimes maybe de-risking a bit of their portfolio, and they need a trusted counterparty where they can trade with or execute against. Um, and that extended to actually a lot of the traditional funds, hedge funds, PE funds, VC funds alike. And then there's also the what we call maybe the high net worth investors or just investors in general who are new to the space, mostly looking to invest in maybe Bitcoin or Ethereum, needs a lot of hand holding. And that's where our sales and relationship managers come in and really handhold them through the whole process of setting up a wallet or setting up with an account, holding your first, buying your first Bitcoin or your Ethereum, trying to use that to buy something else, or guide them through the whole journey. And yeah, so we really set up dedicated efforts for different kinds of clients.
Interesting. So you have a full suite of solutions
Yeah, we try to
for your
be the one-stop shop.
Do you have any success story or use case you like to share with people when you speak about what you have done and how you impact one of your clients or partners?
Yeah, I would say that because in terms of what we offer, we are required to build a lot of the things in house. It could be very infrastructure, so on the custody side, wallet, asset security, all the way to information security, smart contract audit, and even when it comes to regulatory or compliance side, right? So I think hopefully we have empowered our our clients not just in one specific product or services that we offer, but really across the board. We've worked with different, even our own portfolio companies in many different ways and offered them even help on research side. So there's this staking service provider. We know the team well. We actually led their first round, and now we're building staking products together because we understand the financial product aspect while they're stronger in on the tech side, on the staking, on distributed key management, um, any of sort of the on-chain side of activities, while we can think of different ways to help distribute, to help them bootstrap initial TVL, and we also have the access to the clients who are interested in having a on-chain native yield-bearing product. So yeah, this is just some of the ways that we can help find more synergies with who we work with, other than just being a market maker or just being a liquidity provider.
Interesting. I've done some research before you came here, and I saw one of your products. The name is WhaleFin,
Yes.
and like when I was doing my research, I was trying to understand what was the motivation for you for this development of the solutions, and what was the unique value that it does bring to your individual investors.
Yeah, so actually the journey with WhaleFin, so we initially built a product because we wanted to double down on our commitment to onboard more users and bridge more users onto crypto. So we offered it as a one-stop shop, easy to use application where this is where you can buy your first crypto. This is where you can even use your credit card to spend your crypto. There's also different yield products that are available. Um, so we actually opened it to anyone really, where we do have the licenses to serve clients. But just given, I think the market change this year, we've kind of pivoted the platform back towards more institutional use. So that's more on the API side, where different hedge funds can connect to our OTC portal directly and trade there, or have access to our structured products directly and trade there. And in the same process, limited a bit of the retail side, just because there's also a lot of regulatory uncertainty that's ongoing. But the product itself is the same. It is bringing a lot of the crypto native financial products and liquidity to the institutional and the high net worth investors.
Interesting. You spoke about a lot of products you're doing and developing, and you have a full suite of solutions, as I can understand. Uh, what is the consideration when you are adding a new product or services into your portfolio?
I think actually the market demand is very important, right? And it could happen very fast with this market. There's maybe all of a sudden a new thing, it could be the new NFT, new NFT on Bitcoin even. And we have to be quick to adapt, but we also have to filter out the noise and see what are the true demands from our core client set. A lot of them evolves around either on off ramp capabilities to make sure that they can seamlessly go from US dollar to crypto and back. And then also the financial products available. And nowadays, more so, how do you offer financial products in a very trusted or trustworthy way as a counterparty? So I think those are the things that our clients care about most, and that's where we spend the most time focusing on the security, on a lot of the infrastructure level things, as well as financial product innovation.
You also mentioned two interesting words. You mentioned about security and trust. So in the digital asset world, security is key. Definitely, like we always say that the cash is king, but security is also king. I think. Uh, how with your company Amber Group do you build the trust between you and your clients?
Well, that's something we strive to do every day. It's not just one thing that we do. Security is weaved into every aspect. On the internal operation side, on the infrastructure side, the wallet, key management, smart contract audit, and we're just very proud to have a such a stellar in-house team that can do that. Our security expert in-house, Dr. Chachi Wu, was ex-co-founder of PegShield and brought a super just incredible team, so that we know that every time if we want to be more active on chain within DeFi side, that we're not exposing ourselves or our client to any smart contract risk. And obviously, wallet and key management, we can go full other day talking about this. But yeah, that's basically we've been to every aspect of internal um, operation side, then externally also, right? How we really assess risk from the market risk, counterparty risk, and all of that plays into it. I think that the fact that we're still around despite all of the market turmoil hopefully speaks to our capability, and that track record hopefully brings trust to our clients. But we know that we have to earn it every day.
Yeah, you are still here. It's. I mean, it's a statement, definitely. If it's possible, can you share some of the specific challenge you may face in terms of security and how you have overcome them?
It is a lot, and I think, to a point that maybe I don't even see most of it, right? Most of a lot of the security threats are eliminated, before anyone sees it, and that's really the point. So I wanna give a lot of credit to our internal team to ring fence a lot of that. I mean, last year and even this year, right, there's a lot of these big organized hacker groups that have attacked a lot of the platforms. But well, knock on wood, but since inception, we never had any security incident. So I think the challenges is that how do you actually face that every day? There is going to be vulnerabilities, there's going to be attacks, but face that every day and have a consistent result where we are always able to safeguard our client assets. So yeah, I think the challenges really there's so many, right? Even when it comes to, um, I think specifically key management, I think it is difficult for a service provider firm like us, or even for anybody individually. So yeah, I think the solution we can go on for a long time, but again, I think the fact that we've never had a security incident also speaks for itself.
You also mentioned about the team, and team is big part of a company, especially when we start like a couple of years ago and we become a big corporate, right? Do you have like some insight to how the team behind Number Group contribute to the success and what is the dynamic there?
I think all of our success comes down to the people. If you ask me or us, anyone of us, what our biggest assets are, it's our people, it's our team. Crypto is a difficult industry, right? Not everybody would have the stomach for it. The volatility, all of the positive and the negative headlines. So finding a right team has has been difficult, but I think we're very blessed to have a very strong team of people across all functions. So on the front office side, on the trading side, on the security team side, and a lot of the even back office side, right? Because we also have to shoulder a lot of the compliance and regulatory licensing responsibilities. So yeah, I'm super proud of them. I think we have what it takes to really go the long way here. And yeah, and I would just say that finding talent is definitely difficult, but we want to continue to upgrade our talent to bring the average up, and to have one of the best teams here in this industry.
So how do you find talent and how do you upskill them?
Well, I wish I know what the best way is. It's a lot of trial and error to be honest. We try to hire from all backgrounds, from tech, fintech, from uh, financial services, from banks, and a lot of times I just try to hire the people I know within my network because, like I said earlier, crypto is a very can be very challenging. So you really need to have the right mindset, that curiosity, um, and that mindset that maybe your role would change, but you have to be okay with that, and you don't mind jumping to the next thing right away. So we don't really find that in all of the candidates, sadly, but those who are very adaptable tend to do very well with us, and we really try to find them everywhere. But a lot of times it's actually referrals and the network.
You just mentioned everywhere. So does it mean your company is from everywhere in the world? Are you working on a decentralized model, or do you have like some hub like in Hong Kong, maybe in Singapore, like you, or other countries?
Yeah, I would say it's hybrid. So in Asia, where most of our staff is, it's a bit more um, centralized in a way that we do have Singapore and Hong Kong as a hub, also Taipei, where our security team is based. And we have a sales and trading team out of Vancouver to cover the North America time zone. And the rest of the teams are quite distributed. The rest of Europe, whatnot, just to try to get a good coverage globally. But also, I mean, I think we all know that we're living in a very different day and age now. So remote work, to the extent that it is efficient and works well overall as an organization.
I recently follow a lot of your posts or like people posting about you. You were in Dubai, I think, recently. You were here in Hong Kong. You are going back to Singapore. From your network, your work, and also your travel, did you see like any specific trend or current trend on the digital asset industry, not only in Hong Kong, but maybe across Asia or maybe across the world?
Yeah, well, I guess we can start with the US where we're seeing a lot of the headlines. So I think right now there is a lot of regulatory uncertainty that is coming out of there. And a lot of the regulators elsewhere are looking to the US to be the guideline. So I think that certainly does not help with getting additional clarity from a lot of the other jurisdictions. So it is a challenge that we have to face as an industry, and there are people who are working very hard on behalf of our entire industry to find more answers. But you would see that in Hong Kong, in Singapore, and in the UAE um, are somewhat of an outlier where they do have their own regulatory framework. It is different, but at least it gives us a bit more clarity. So in Singapore, on the MAS, is actually regulated under the Payment Services Act, and we're lucky where we're able to complete an acquisition of a local company that has obtained a full license in Singapore. So through this acquisition and partnership, then we can still conduct business in Singapore and Hong Kong with what will come up, I guess, in 2 days, right? The new licensing regime. Hoping to get a lot more clarity from that as well. But we're definitely going to be here. We're going to service our clients here, so we're very committed. And I think because this is really our root, we started here what 5 years ago, that it's always going to be a special place for us. And the rest of the world, I think we'll just always continue to monitor um, and and make a decision whether or not it makes sense for us to conduct business there or have a team there. It's a very I joke that we can all be digital nomads, right? We don't really have that much of an attachment to a physical place as much as being in a place where it makes most sense for the business.
You just mentioned about like the regulations changing at a fast pace. How do you adapt to that change or new regulations coming onto the market? How Amber can, you know, pivot his strategy or adapt the strategy to this new regulation?
Yeah, so we always have a global view, and we want to do the best we can to service our clients worldwide. Obviously, there are restrictions, and you have to be quick to comply. So we have to, on a system level, we have to build our system flexible enough where we can turn on and turn off a region if there's any changes in a certain jurisdiction. And actually, I think on our legal and compliance side, also shoulders a lot of that responsibility in continuing monitoring and also making decision whether we should be applying for our own license or whether or not we should find a local partner to work with, and it's very dynamic. It could change, which is why on the team setup wise, you also need people who are okay with dealing with constant changes.
Ah, good. These regulations bring about like also future inspirations and how you can also expand your reach to new markets, right? Because like we can see like Hong Kong now came with that asset, a virtual assets license and status. So how do you go just beyond local markets? And you also mentioned you have customers across the world. So how do you go beyond just your local markets to serve overseas customers, but also work with them and deliver the best operation?
So I would say that because crypto has been global from day one, and liquidity should also be global, and that solves a lot of it, right? It's not a very fragmented or isolated asset class. Um, so that itself drove the need to be global. I don't think we're the best at localization in a lot of the different markets, but we know our niche on the institutional and high net worth side. Maybe different regions will have different kind of investment appetite, but they also share a lot of the similar requirements in terms of what they're looking for. So on that end, it's actually having a local team um, that can really service the clients locally, but a lot of the infrastructure it actually sits with the global side, and we manage that as a distributed team.
Looking at the future, can be near future or 5 years from now, how do you see the group growing? How do you see the team developing new solutions or expanding the reach?
I think we'll grow together with the industry, together with the market. So as more demand comes in, more liquidity comes back, there's so much more that we can offer, and we've really expanded our business lines in every aspect of this industry, at least when it comes to financial products or services. Um, whether it's off chain or whether it's on chain. And I think we'll always have that mindset to look at what is happening. What are the new technologies coming? Is it ZK? Is it scaling? Is it MEV or anything like that? And we'll make sure that we're at the forefront of that. And I think our team has the ability to do that. And like I said, we'll always upgrade and maintain a high quality team so that we can continue to do that and evolve with the market. It's not an easy thing to do. I mean, just look at the last 5 years, how much this has changed, but also look at how much we've built, so that I'm confident that whatever the new direction or the new products are coming to the space, that we can be a pioneer of that.
Do you see any specific milestones that the market or the industry need to reach for the growth of N number and the industry?
I think so. I think we need to actually have the applications or the use cases that the end users want. Maybe for the institutional investors or the high net worth investors, maybe that's more around um, the risk and reward and investment and investing in this asset class. But if you're talking about onboarding billions of new users, then that there has to be use cases. I mean, OpenAI or ChatGPT became so popular because people realize that it works and they want to interact with it. I don't think we have seen something like that in crypto yet, besides trading as a core need. But I do think we have the potential to go so much beyond that. People talk about gaming as the next, or on chain gaming as the next way of onboarding users could be, right? Because entertainment is one of the core needs. I can try to talk to you for hours about why it makes sense to invest in Bitcoin, or I can show you a game you love to play. But if playing that game requires you buying some in game token or NFTs, you would do that without knowing that you're interacting with the blockchain. So I think we need to build a lot more use cases like that. And before that happens, there's so much that we need to build from the infrastructure, from the application, or even the middle layer, middleware side. But we have the brightest minds in this industry, so I have no doubt that we'll be able to get there.
Um, Thank you very much. You are one of the leader of the market. Uh, I know. I just mentioned it a couple of times already, but we saw you on I follow you for a couple of years already, and I see like all your posts, your what you're doing with the company. What does it bring you to be one of the leader on the market, and what was your inspiration maybe to become one of these persons, the powerhouse profile in the digital assets? And do you like sometimes receive also some message from people you inspire?
Well, I think what we just set out to do is building a very honest business. We try to solve the pain points that we see. We try to be the best that we can, and having a good relationship, a reputation within this industry. And because um, there are not that many players out there that can even just do the basics. That I think we're lucky that somehow we stood out over the years. So actually, right, reputation matters. Are you really truly committed to what you want to build? And it will show over time. It's easy to say, this is what I want to do, but your action speaks louder than words. And I think we've just always have a clear idea of who we want to be and what we want to build. And we just continue to do that despite so many other noises or temptations in the market that we could have done otherwise or could have made more profit otherwise. But I think just sticking to who you are. And it's crazy that people think of me as long-term crypto or crypto leader. I think this whole time I just wanted to do what I can to deliver the solutions that this industry needed.
Is this the most significant learning that you got from your position as a managing partner?
Actually, it's a lot about people management. Nothing in school ever prepared me for that. Nothing like working on Wall Street really required that because a lot of people are individual contributors. But here running the business, then actually it is about being able to keep talent and continue to incentivize them to grow and to work on in the same direction. And that actually has been the biggest challenge for me personally. I have made lots of mistakes. I'm glad that my team bear with me, and I think I've also grown a lot because of that. It's definitely taught me to have a lot more empathy, right? Knowing where people are coming from. And that applies both externally to when you're trying to see what your clients need, and also internally, listen to what your team wants and what they're thinking, um, and yeah, just paying attention to that, among many other lessons I've learned.
I know we spoke about a bit of the future, saying like you would like to be back to Hong Kong, as is where everything starts. But what can we expect from Member Group in the next couple of years?
I think first of all, just continue to deliver the products and services that we do, and hopefully can play a part in bring more institutional and high net worth investors on board, bring back the liquidity and the capital, and empower a lot of the teams that are building the use cases that we need to get to the next step. I think we've always considered ourselves as the middleman that's solving the problems, as empowering others. We want to see this industry grow. We want to see more use cases being built, and we'll play whatever role that we can to help the companies do that.
Perfect, perfect. Where can we learn more about the company? Does the company have a blog? Do you produce some content?
Yeah, yeah. So we do have our group website, embergroup.io. We also regularly publishes investment research on our Substack, um, And all of these information will occasionally will regularly update on our company Twitter as well.
Okay, I will follow your Substack. I have one as well, but I didn't know you had one. And where people can learn more about you?
Well, I guess on Twitter, you can find me at underscore Annabelle Huang. Also, pretty active on LinkedIn. And otherwise, just follow Amber Group. I'm sure you'll see me.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I have another question for you. It's, do you recommend any books, blogs, or podcasts for people listening to this podcast and they can learn more about like the digital asset industry, the blockchain industry, or even something like you are passionate about and we don't know?
I think there is plenty of very high quality crypto specific podcasts. I follow the Unchained podcast by Laura Shin a lot. It has different content and has a lot of the high quality guests, and will keep you up to speed. And otherwise, I think when it comes to fintech, there's also so many different ones. But yeah, hopefully you guys will enjoy this one.
Thank you.
What the fintech as well.
Perfect. Thank you very much. It was a real pleasure for me to having you here. It's very hard to find you because you are always around the world, but when you are in Hong Kong, I took my chance to have you here. So thank you very much for accepting.
Thank you again for having me here.
And thank you very much for listening to this podcast. It was What the FinTech with Annabelle, and I hope you enjoy it. Please follow her, and I will see you soon. Ciao, bye bye.